Hello. We are going to just look at some very simple functions in an NDS. And so what we'd love to do is just bring up a recipe. And I've brought that up. What we'd love to do is just work with this recipe, trying to do some optimization, some comparisons, and going all the way to where we build a report and save the report in an easy, simple function to maybe show a consultant, show a dairyman. So I'm going to start with this recipe, and I'm going to go ahead and I've got some corn flakes, some canola, gluten, the custom mix, fuzzy cottonseed, and some sodium bentonite. So what I might do is just unmix that. And for the accounting purposes, I'm just going to save as and save that as a working copy. I may just do this for simplistic reason, just to keep all my accounting straight. One reason is I want to compare prices to prices. And so what I might see is that the mixed version of these feeds over here are going to be more expensive for the trucking and the mixing fee than they would be individually. So I'm saving that and gonna take this opportunity then just to figure I'm at 89 pounds and 91, and the dairy's right around, I think 89.8 is what he sent me. And so let's try to get 93.5, 94 pounds of milk. All right, let's just go to 94 pounds of milk, leave everything the same. Let's just bring this over to the optimizer. So the optimizer has a lot of functionality in it. The first thing you'll know is that it has a snapshot of the recipe page. And so sometimes if the fields are not filled in, what I may want to do is go up to the utility tab and regenerate specifications. So what that'll do is it'll open up 7 or 8% on either side of the current feeds. Now the last thing we did at this dairy was ran out of haylage and went to more dry hay, so we can click right here and I can double click to exclude that from the recipe. Everything else looks good. We put a little sodium bentonite in these diets for a little additional sodium and also some some toxin binding ability, if we can say that. What I might do is click on this, the bentonite, and I might go up to the lactation custom mix, control click, so these two are highlighted. And then if I right mouse click, I can fit the mins and the maxes of those products in the recipe. What I'd love to do is to get to more milk, but I want to leave my custom mix the same because it's got my min vits and some vitamins and some minerals in there. I'll leave the sodium bentonite, and I can hand open this up if I choose to right now. We'll probably run it the first couple times by itself. This is in the ingredient section. What I probably need to do right off the bat is go into settings of the optimizer. And inside the setting of the optimizer, I'm going to do the nonlinear, which allows me to do for ME and MP milk and all these parameters down here. I want to optimize on a dry matter basis. What I want to do is leave the column, the current recipe, at the left of the constraints, and we'll look at that on the output page. I want to show the deviations from ration to ration, 2%, and leave the base diet. So when I am in this diet, the original diet will show up as my base diet over here. I can also choose the last accepted diet, but really what I want to do is see if I can make an improvement over the saved diet or the present diet. Now as you look, I can do DCAD optimization, and the DCAD will appear here. I can do some ideas of optimizing for you know, NDF, UNDF, and I may just save doing those two functions for later. I can redo that. Here's my DCAD. If I wanted to put a min and a max in here, I should probably open up some minerals, some buffers that I could do that with. The UNDF, I'm pretty close in this diet at 0.35, so you know, I can put a min and a max in here later. I can do it as UNDF 30, or I can do it as UNDF as a percent of body weight, or we can manipulate this as we go in. I'm going to leave it pretty simple. The primary objective for the optimizer right now is going to be minimize total ration cost. Secondary, let's maximize milk production. We can manipulate these and move them later. I can also do microbial yield, and I may unclick that because we're not going to balance for amino acids in this recipe, but you have the option to leave it in or take it out. I'll probably leave it in. Reordering the solutions, so we can hover over the eye and we can see, depending on whether we're looking at our primary or secondary objectives, we can decide which one will show up first. I leave the quick mode search on. It speeds up the solutions. It does do a little less math, but for our scenarios that we're running, it's not going to cause us any problems with the solutions to the third or fourth decimal point. I want to show the best 5 solutions after our optimization. So that's just a quick, easy way. We can actually go and run this thing several times and then come back and change these parameters and keep running our optimizer. But I just wanted to show you that is in the settings right here. And those will be retained for every lactation diet that I ask to do in the recipe now. Over here is the linear parameter. So if I click on this button, I can reorder and change and add any parameters I want to my list here. You know, if I want to do acetate, propionate, butyrate, I can bring those in. And this was the linear part of the optimization occurring over here. Okay, so in order, when you do that, you can add these, you can rearrange these. And if you look at my list, I'm basically populating the list over what I would want for the high cow in the optimization to occur. And then if I hit confirmation, you can see this comes in. You can see I'm 1801 here. I'm asking for a max on the starch. And I may open that up to 28.5 in this scenario. You can see the sugar is less than the 5%. I'm really not concerned about the sugar. I may just take that out. Forage, I'd love to have 40%. And so some of the parameters I can set here to help run this scenario, and then down here, as we talked about too, my minimum on the UNDF as a percent of body weight might be 0.33. And then I can put a max in here too at 0.39. And then I can do the same thing for UNDF 30. I may just take that out. And down here I can add quite a few items down here. What I'm looking at is ME and MP, RDP, rumen ammonia concentration, and the carbohydrate B3 degraded. So this is basically the potentially digested NDF. Lysine methionate, I don't have a min on there. I can unclick them here too. And then you can manipulate these. You can see these areas in red. That was in red, but now I'm not asking for any sugar to set my min and max. Here at the 94 pounds that we ask, I'm asking for 99% of the ME supplied to reach that 94 pounds of milk, and 99 of the MP supplied. You can see that I'm at 98 and 96. So I feel pretty comfortable with the way that's set up. There's some other functionality in here, but for right now, what I'm going to do is just go to the optimization, and you can see when I hover over that, the optimization is set for minimize total cost, secondary maximize milk production. So let's hit it and see if it blows up. So I'm getting optimal solutions already. And as I scroll down, here is the current recipe. And then here are the 5 best solutions that I could see. So what I'd like to do is start tinkering around with this. One thing that I did notice was that my diet was set at 56.8 pounds and it went all the way up to 57.5. So I may just set this at 56.9 and now just rerun the optimizer. There was a oversight on my side, so now I can let it run. You can see I'm getting some suboptimals, no optimals, no greens. So it basically came up and said, you couldn't get an optimal solution. The math could not work out to get 94 pounds of milk. The reason why was that I wanted the minimum of the NDF to be at 28.5, and it kept bumping into 28.4, 28.39, 28.4, which is mathematically not 28.5, and so we have these brown areas in here. So if I said, hey, 28.4 is okay, I can swing down to this level here, and these become okay. Now in each scenario, it wanted 28.5, more than 28.5 on that, on our starch. So what I might do is open some things up in the optimizer. On the ingredient side, I can see that each scenario took close to the limit, lower limit on the corn silage. On the alfalfa, it was right through the middle. On the brew, it was closer down on the bottom side. And it's interesting because on the canola here, it wanted more in each scenario. So what I might do is I might let it take just a little more canola. And in these two scenarios, it wanted more corn gluten feed on these two scenarios. And so what I might do is let it take just a tad bit more. And then I'm able to go ahead and rerun it again. And so as it's running on, coming up with suboptimals, no optimals, 2 of the best solutions, again, it's going further down on the NDF, the total NDF in this diet, wanting more starch and less forage to get to that level. So what I may end up doing is coming in with another product or bouncing up one of the ingredients, or I may be forced to say, you know, if this animal is going to do that, can I allow it to take just a tad bit more intake and optimize? Again, I'm trying to get 3 to 4 more pounds of milk, and I'm actually allowing the system to take in a little more intake, so I may not be apples to apples at 56.8 and now I'm 57.25, so I've got another half pound of intake there, and it looks like it wants less alfalfa here, and it's taking less corn silage. It took less alfalfa. The minimum on brew, corn flakes, it went up on canola, came in there in 77 pounds and not 7. It wanted more corn gluten feed. it went from a 16-7 to a 17 protein diet. But even though this is suboptimal, and it's pushed again, or no, this is an optimal diet. Sorry, this is optimal. But it said it bounced against these constraints to get that optimal diet. We could scroll down here. It's a 17% diet. The NDF is down at 28.5. The starch is 28.36. And it came up with this diet. The production limit was 89.8, $6.22. We just went up about 11 cents, but now we're at, instead of 89.8, the limitation is 92.9 pounds. And as you scroll down here, you can see we are barely able to get to those 99% for the 94, which gets us to the 93 and 93. So what I might do is accept this solution and highlight it and let it go into solution. And then now the screen is populated with the diet that was optimal. So what I can do is just click on catch a version, or I could click on comparison. If I click on comparison, it goes to comparison. If I click on catch a version, then I do have that one loaded. What I'd really like to do is just try to add maybe some wheat straw into this thing to see if I could keep the, get the NDF here. So what I'd love to do is find one that has a KD. Here's one with a KD. And what I might want to do is then take this into the optimizer now and limit this to half a pound. All right. And let's see. And see if I can get it to take a half a pound. Might let it optimize right here and see if it needs a little bit of straw to get that NDF. So now I'm getting more optimal solutions. Stayed at that 57 1/4. It still wanted less fuzzy cottonseed and less alfalfa. But now I have 3 solutions that hit my parameters. And what I might do is just take that cotton down to 2 and leave that straw at half and run that optimizer again and just see what it comes up with. This way I can see the issues that are limiting my optimal solutions, but I have more optimal solutions here. Again, the original diet was 622 doing 89. I'm kind of tending to like this one here, 17.4. The protein is not that much higher. My NDF is a little bit lower. And again, starch is at 28.3, so that's good. 93 and 92.5 pounds. I'm going to take this one into solution. So I highlight it, bring it into solution. And now the other ration is gone away. And it did take a little bit of that straw. And so what I might do is catch a version here. And then one thing that I may want to look at is saying, okay, what happens if I fed, and again, I can click on here and I can hit the plus sign on my keyboard and then just feed another 1/4 pound of that. And then I can come up to the corn silage, click on it, hit the minus sign, and just take the quarter pound out of there. So now I might catch a version of that too. So now I've got 4 different rations up there. One that was the original, 2 that was optimized, and then 1 that was my hand calculated one. So let me go to comparisons. It's showing the 3rd or 4th version. So if I go to versions here, I can click on saved versus last, because really what I like to do is look at the first version, the saved one, versus the last one I worked on. So over here you can see the dry matter intake went from 56.8 to 57. Forages stayed the same. The total cost of the diet or the dry matter pounds went up slightly. The total cost per head went up 9 cents. Income over feed cost per head went up 35 cents. So this is very interesting. And again, I come down here and look at crude protein. I can look at that PENDF. I can look at the total NDF. Now I'm at 29 and 28.6. I think I can live with those differences. I can go to CNCPS tab and then look at the allowable milk. Again, my limitation was 89. Now my limitation is the 92.5, but that is 2.7 pounds better. So the other thing I can do in that versions is to say, okay, the saved ration was present diet, and I can rename those here. The second one was optimal, or that was a suboptimal, I think. And you may want different names on these depending on who you're showing. This was an optimal, and then this one was optimal more straw. Just give them names. Now when I close this, these will populate in here in the show all function here. So again, here's the first one, the saved, suboptimal, optimal, more straw. I can widen these out to make that look a little better. So again, I'm showing concentration, amount of dry matter. I can come down and look 16, 17.9, 17.4, 17.4. That NDF went 29, 28.5, 28.5, 28.69. Again, here's the allowable milk. I can see that here. And then dry matter pounds, we went up slightly in this scenario. Total cost, we can see those things here. So the next question is, we used to have to bring this in and show all of this, and we had a heck of a way to make a report. And what they've done is they've created a new feature, this whole report section. So if you look at this report, you can create a new report, and we're just going to call it December 2018 12/20. And of course we could call it lactation summary or whatever we wanted to do. Probably a better idea. Lac summary, and maybe you've got something else. I'm not sure what the ID code is, but let's do LS 2018. Okay, so we're going to proceed, and then that becomes the diet or the report we're looking at. As you see, all the ingredients are in here, and what we can do is use this outside the furthest left to choose what we want to show in that report. So I'm just going to go randomly and down here and collect a few things. I want to show the ME and MP milk. If I wanted to show amino acids in this scenario, I have a full range of amino acids. I may want to show the lysine and methionine, for example, here. I can go up and show ruminal parameters, the protein parameters, microbial production, VFA production, DCAD, anything down here. What I really want to be concerned about is showing the dry matter pounds, and in this scenario we did go up. Usually what we like to do is compare apples to apples, but this is close enough for the demo. I want to show the total cost that we last saved in the diet. And then what I'd love to do is show income over feed cost per head. If I had classified things as purchased, income over purchase feed cost, and I'm not sure in this scenario I've done that, but it is showing a nice increase. I'm going to leave it off this time because I'm not sure that I classified the feeds as purchased or homegrown, but that's done. That's showing this here, income over feed. So now I've made this report. I've clicked these outside buttons, and that's the ones that are attached to this report. So now when I save that report is saved, procedure successful. I can show the report here, and here's my report. So one last thing that I was always kind of complaining about was that I wanted to draw circles and highlight this. And then when I realized if I take this into the PDF viewer, and I'm just going to call it demo for today, 2018-12-20. When I take this into the PDF viewer and I started playing around with the PDF viewer, here's my highlighter. And so now I can say, hey, here's the limitation of milk here. Limitation was here. Limitation was here and here. But biggest thing I'd probably want to highlight is this whole column right here for either dairymen or whatever we're looking at. And again, most of these scenarios I do try to keep the dry matter pounds the same. But taking a 90-pound dairy and trying to get 94, I just made that supposition for us today. So again, then you could save this, print this off, and present this to consultant, dairyman, however you wanted to do it. We were in discussions the other day. If a farm had a herd that was currently feeding a haylage, you could take that out and put another haylage in. With just that substitution, show the energy and protein that just those forage changes occur within the diet. Swap that out for another haylage or another corn silage and do the same thing. And it'd be a demonstration to show the forage quality, how much predictable M and MP is in that, are in those forages, the diet remaining the same. So again, a lot of functionality here to do this, to play around. This would be the report you could take out and show somebody. What I'd like to do, just in retrospect, is kind of get out of some of this now and take you right back here. One thing I forgot to look at and tell you about. So as you start looking at this screen, the idea of which feed is purchased feed, which one is home raised, you can go right into feed details here. You can go into feed infos, and this is purchased, of course. This would be already at the farm. And so these are other contracted feeds. This is what the feed mill. You need to save this. And then as you save that, now your income over purchase feed cost is going to be more pertinent. Even if you went back over to the optimizer now, you could actually go into settings, and now you could maximize income over purchase feed cost. Close this, run the optimizer, and see what kind of solutions you get. So now you're optimizing income over purchase feed cost, and then secondary maximizing milk production. So now the system is going to try to take more feed from these feeds that are already purchased versus the feed mill prices. And so again, now we're looking at income over purchase feed cost was $10.79, and it's trying to generate these returns back to the dairyman for the income over purchase feed cost. So again, different ways you can do that. Again, our main function was to open up the optimizer, look at the optimizer, do some optimizing comparisons, and then go to the report page. So I hope we've done that, and you'll be able to use those functions a little better. Thanks a lot.